just about a week in New England, and this is what I got around to. We took a red eye from Seattle to Boston and was able to catch sunrise down at the harbor. We were starving, so we went to the nearest local breakfast. When in New England, you have to. We don't have Dunkin' Donuts in Washington, actually. We then walked around the city. All I wanted to do was look at these beautiful row houses. This is in the Beacon Hill area. We checked out the Boston Commons Park and caught the Freedom Trail. This is super cool. There are different trails throughout the city, and you just follow the different colored bricks, and it takes you to all these different historical sites. It's a great way to have like a self-guided walking tour throughout the city. We then checked out the Isabella Gardner Museum. This is a gorgeous house full of a private collection of art. This museum is famous for one of the Rembrandts being stolen, but the garden inside and the decor and of course all the art is just stunning. Onto another museum, I suppose. Within the Dorchester Brewing Company, we got some beers, but there's also the Museum of Bad Art. This was so fun. There are these plaques here that kind of tell where these paintings were collected. A lot of them were taken out of dumpsters or from thrift shops or donated, and then they have these really funny captions written under them. It really is a very unique and fun place to check out. I wish we had more than just less than a day to check out Boston, but for our last little bit, we went to this food court. I got some pizza. I love thin pizza that you can fold in half like this. Ah, so fabulous. And of course, we had to stop at Mike's Pastry and get some cannolis. These are beautifully fresh, and we got pistachio because that's my favorite. The reason for this trip was to celebrate a friend's birthday, so we left Boston and drove a few short hours up north to New Hampshire. And the next morning, we went to the Pancake House. This one was really cool because they had their own sap factory where they would collect and make maple syrup in-house, and I will say this is some of the best maple syrup I have had. After that, we went to a local farm. This is Carter Hill Farms. I believe it's dubbed the oldest farm in New Hampshire. It originates back from the 1700s, and I believe it's owned by like the same family. We were here for peach season, so we got a really good view of the orchard, and inside the store they had apple cider donuts and a bunch of, beautiful farm goods. And then it was time to pick some peaches. They had just had a hailstorm, so some of them were bruised, but we ate a bunch of them and they were excellent, and mostly the fun is picking them. We then drove an hour north to go to a memorial for a mountain that is no longer. This is the Old Man of the Mountain. It was an iconic and beloved rock protrusion that gave the appearance of a man's profile. This collapsed in 2003. So today they have these shadow stencils where you can kind of stand and show where the man of the mountain would be if he was still there today. The history behind it is fascinating. They had spent decades trying to keep him together with different mechanics to hold the rocks in place, but it collapsed in 2003, but he's still used on the New Hampshire license plate. So the Old Man of the Mountain lives on. We went on a really rainy day and a short evening to Franconia Notch, White Mountains area. It's definitely a place I need to go back. But the next day we headed to the 7 miles of the New Hampshire seacoast. We found this adorable little aquarium in Hampton Beach. I always love walking around beaches and finding free aquariums or exhibits like this. They're always just some fun stuff to check out. After that, I picked up some saltwater taffy. They had some funky flavors here, like coconut curry, which was interesting. And then we decided to head up north. So we drove by some beautiful houses. The sun was out. Drove through Portsmouth. If you haven't been to New Hampshire before, I definitely recommend Portsmouth. We didn't get to check it out a lot this time, but we went to this adorable lighthouse. is, oh, it just seems so Wes Anderson to me. I'm not sure why, but this is in Cape Nettic. I've also seen it called Nubble Light. After that, we headed to Noonan's, just outside of Kennebunk, for lobster rolls and some steamers. They actually had a really good price for steamers this time. This was my first time doing it. Dunk it in the water to get rid of any residual dirt or grime. Dump it in butter, and yeah. Lovely, lovely texture, flavor, so fresh. After that, we got lobster rolls. This place is also cash only, so heads up on that. We then headed back to Kennebunk Port for sunset. It's such a beautiful New England town. Loved all the little shops here. Went back to the candy shop to look at more saltwater taffy and any other treats and sweets. Buttered popcorn is my favorite flavor of taffy, and somebody had put all lemon in that container, and the guy that checked me out saved me from buying a whole bunch of lemon instead of buttered popcorn. Kennebunk Port is not that large, so after walking the street or two, we headed back to that boat in the sky because it actually is a bar. This is the Spirit of Massachusetts. You get a really cool view up here. I ordered a mixed drink and we just watched the sunset. And the next day, back in New Hampshire, it was time to celebrate that birthday. So we hopped on a pontoon, which is kind of new to me, and just drove around and had a really lovely day on the lake. We had beautiful sunshine, was able to do a little bit of swimming, and the water was not frigidly cold like it is in Washington. So enjoyed some beverages and a really relaxing day out on the lake. And my apologies on this next segment. I'm not sure why I decided to only film American Stonehenge in vertical. This is a really cool heritage site. It's ruins from different Native American peoples. There are different structures that line up with the different astrological events throughout the year, like solstice and the equinoxes, but the actual ruins themselves are gorgeous. We then headed back to North Massachusetts to Hammond Castle. This is the backyard of the castle. It has beautiful views of the ocean. Now inside there's this lovely garden. This is a museum that you get to walk around. Hammond was an inventor and used his fortune to build this beautiful house. We got to have some more lobster before we head back to the West Coast. So here in Gloucester, Gloucester, Mass, we had a lobster roll at Blue Collar Lobster. This was the amount of lobster in this roll was crazy, but it was so delicious, and caught a little bit of golden hour at the sea before heading back to Massachusetts and then ultimately home. So I want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. Happy travels from me to you, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.